Well, today we're celebrating in Oude Kwaremont at the end of a long monument, at the end of the Tour of Flanders 2025, here in the heart of Belgium, in Flanders. The Tour of Flanders is Tadej Pogacar for a second time, the Slovenian, three-time Tour de France winner, four times winner in Lombardia, twice in Liège, and now marking a second victory in Flanders. I think that takes us up to 8 monument wins. Is Tadej Pogacar, the Slovenian, riding solo after that last time up the Kwaremont, leaving all of his rivals behind, including none other than Mathieu van der Poel, who had 3 victories in Flanders, was aiming for a record today with 4, including Wout van Aert, who was aiming for his first, the Belgian home soil. Wouldn't have that have been nice? And also including one of the hot favorites, Mads Pedersen, left them all in the dust, left bodies everywhere on the roads, and came here into Oude Kwaremont to finish right up there. We saw him celebrate, and what made it even more special was he was in the rainbow jersey, world champion. That jersey he took last year in Zurich by winning the World Championships. Tadej Pogacar rode with style and frankly gave us a bit of a scare because early on in the race, we saw that he didn't have satellite riders like the other riders had up the road. We had Tish Benoot for Visma. We had Quinten Hermans for Alpecin de Koenig. Tadej had no one. Well, also what's interesting was Mathieu van der Poel was involved in a crash at one point, hit the ground, picked himself back up, had to change bikes again, was wasting a lot of energy going back and forth. And Tadej, well, he lost his man, Narvaez. He also had Tim Wellens involved in a crash. So things were looking kind of question marks as to what would happen. And then, well, the question marks were made into exclamation points because it was Tadej Pogacar on the first of the 2 final loops of the Kwaremont Paterberg, the second of 3 Kwaremont ascents. It was Tadej Pogacar riding up there through the grass. Mathieu van der Poel caught a bit off guard, but Mads Pedersen, the Get Well Again winner, also the Visma duo of American Mathieu Jorgensen and the Belgian Wout van Aert were marking him right away, and Van der Poel had to do a big charge to get up there with Poggi, and they were all together, and things were getting strung out there on the Paterberg. The next climb, well, Poggi hit out again, Van der Poel hit out again, and at the top, they had a gap. The chasing riders, well, it was Pedersen and the Visma duo of Van Aert and Jorgensen were looking a little bit weak at that point. We thought Van Aert was going to be the weaker of the 2, especially after we saw the Tour of Flanders where he kind of really messed up that finish. But later on, we were greeted with a surprise because Mathieu Jorgensen himself was a bit distant, and we talked with him afterwards. We got all the riders at the top when they finished. We saw Tadej celebrate. We saw Jorgensen roll up, and I spoke with him, and Jorgensen mentioned it was probably fueling, ran out of energy. I was able to speak with Stuyven and the other riders, and we'll get to that because I want to talk about how it unfolded here, because after the top of the Paterberg, they had the Koppenberg, they had the Tyenberg, where always Tom Boonen would go for it, and then they had the Kreuzberg, and things were blowing up left and right, and riders were scattered all across the road, and when finally it was just Van der Poel and Tadej Pogacar, Mads Pedersen chasing, back behind was his teammate Stuyven with 2 Visma riders. Pedersen took a breath and said, hey, I'm just going to wait. I got Stuyven coming up behind. The Visma duo was there. They were all chasing, and they joined with Poggi and Van der Poel as we head into that final time up the Kwaremont. And at that point, we were looking around thinking, this is a heck of a race, because we not only have the big 3, Van Aert, Van der Poel, Poggi, we also have probably the big 4th. We have the Mads Pedersen there in the move as well, and he had a teammate, so this was getting really exciting. Tadej Pogacar put any hopes of these riders to rest. He attacked again on the Kwaremont and really delivered the punch, the final blow, the death blow, because as we saw 2 weeks ago, he went absolutely nuclear on the Cipressa so far out at the Milano San Remo. The monument he wants to add to his Palmares, but couldn't drop. Van der Poel, Ghana was fighting back. Ghana joined him, then did it again on the Poggio, but had to contend with Van der Poel and had to contend with Ghana in the sprint and came up 3rd. He didn't want that. He told us heading into this race he didn't want that here in Flanders, so he rode away solo. No one could follow him over the top of the Kwaremont, over the top of the Paterberg, the 16th, I think, of the 16 climbs in Flanders, riding solo in the rainbow jersey of world champion. What could be sweeter? And back behind, it was Van der Poel looking at Stuyven saying to Lidl Trek, well, if you guys want to pull him back, you guys have 2 teammates, you do so. Van Aert was there, Jorgensen was already distanced, and that group at some point, they just had to say, hey, look, we're going to ride for 2nd place at this point. And Pedersen did all he could to deliver that 2nd place, and he got the 2nd over Van der Poel. Van Aert had to settle for 4th on the day. And I spoke with all the different riders as they were up there, and Pedersen told me, he said, look, I don't know how I can win the Tour of Flanders. I don't know the secret to unlocking this race. Maybe if Tadej Pogacar is not here, or maybe if he flats, I put it to him and we laughed about it a bit. Tadej is just on another level, and the way he's riding these monuments, well, it's great. It's great for us cycling fans as we watch the race and we watch these races unfold. And the Belgians, I'll tell you, they were loving it too. They cheered him as if he was one of the home riders. They didn't get their Wout van Aert victory. They didn't celebrate Mathieu van der Poel picking up his 4th, a record number of victories here in the Flanders. And Van Aert didn't pick up his 1st. Instead, they celebrated Tadej Pogacar, also the 3-time winner of the Tour de France, world champion, coming in here into Oude. Hey, we got to hand it to Tadej, the Slovenian, for pulling off another great victory, adding another monument, his 8th to his Palmares. And well, tune in next Sunday because we got the Hell of the North. Grand Tour rider, a little climber is going to go at it. Going to try to race over the cobbles, including the Arberg, the flats of northern France, to get there to the Velodrome to win, to add his name, to pick up another monument. But tonight, he's going to kick back. He's going to enjoy this victory as world champion, winning solo in the best way possible here at the 2025 Tour of Flanders.